Today's episode of Notsam Wrestling is brought to you by the new comedy, Fighting With My Family, produced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I can't wait to see this flick. It tells the incredible true story, we know who, of WWE superstar Paige and her hilarious wrestling family. It's funny, makes you feel good, and it's got all the action you want from a film that's centered around wrestling. Don't miss Fighting With My Family in select theaters February 14th and everywhere February 22nd. If you smell what The Rock is cooking about Paige's family, now let's get in to Not Sam Wrestling.
This is Not Sam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
No time to waste today. It's going to be a long one. I got a lot to share with you. It's going to be a long state of wrestling. I feel like, and no disrespect to our interview, I feel like this episode is all about the state of wrestling. Some weeks I feel a certain way, and some weeks I feel a certain way. And I've got a lot to say about what's going on in the world of wrestling right now, from Becky Lynch and Charlotte to the AEW press conference to the Elimination Chamber there's so much going on. It's going to be a good state of wrestling. If you want to flash forward right there, you can go. It's probably about an hour into the show, and then you can come back, listen to the interview. You can listen to Not Sam Wrestling in whatever way you want to listen to it. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here. And I hope that I get to see you, by the way, on February the 27th. That's only in a couple weeks. It's over at Caroline's on Broadway, right here in the Big Apple, New York City. You know it's my home away from home. One of my favorite places to do live events. Caroline's on Broadway. I thought that was the best location to finally settle the score with the Major Brothers. You've heard about it here on the podcast, on their podcast. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Sam Roberts. We've been at war. Every time I go to a WWE show, there's another wrestler. The Miz did it at the Royal Rumble. Tyson Kidd did it at one of the other shows. They're saying, Sam, heard you got heat with the Majors. Sam, I heard you got heat with Ryder and Hawkins. Sam, I heard you got wrestling figure heat. Well, it's time to blow it all off, okay? And be a part of the blow off. The Major Brothers, Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast versus Not Sam Wrestling, and it happens live at Caroline's on Broadway. From what I hear, they're sparing no expense for this thing. They're flying people in for it. The Major Brothers have some serious surprises. They're going to throw the world at me and try to watch me fight from underneath. But guess what? That's what I do. I'm the last professional broadcaster. All I do is fight from underneath, okay? We're going to have surprises. We're going to have retro wrestling merchandise, a whole table full of old school wrestling figures for sale at the show. We're going to have exclusive 8x10s. We've got the meet and greet. We've got the whole show. It'll be part Not Sam Wrestling. It'll be part Major Brothers Wrestling Podcast. If you like this podcast, if you like their podcast, if you like both, if you don't like either, you're probably not listening to this. If you like one or both, you're going to enjoy this live show. Please be there. I can't wait to see you. Wednesday, February 27th. That's Wednesday, February 27th, 7:30 p.m., New York City. Go to carolines.com. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a hell of a show, and I am going to mop the floor. If you thought the last 250 losses were humiliating for Kurt Hawkins, wait till he shows up in my backyard and thinks that he's going to out-broadcast the last professional broadcaster. Here's the thing. This is what I do. I'm not going in the ring and acting like I'm better than Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. But what I am telling you is, if you want to go mouth for mouth and mic for mic, the last professional broadcaster, Sam Roberts, wins every single time. And you'll be able to see it for yourself. I'm taking out a couple jabronis, and I'm doing it at Caroline's on Broadway. You can be there. Carolines.com for all the tickets. Now, all this stuff to get into. Very, very busy week. Very kind of unpredictable week. A lot. It's always good when we leave an episode of Monday Night Raw and an episode of Tuesday Night SmackDown with stuff to talk about. And boy, do we have stuff to talk about coming off of those shows. And we'll get there. But I thought this week, I didn't get a chance to share it with you. And every now and then we have wrestlers over on my morning show on SiriusXM called Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. And I thought that this interview, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I hadn't shared it with you. And I really wanted to. DDP came in and did the show. And he's got a new book out. He just signed a deal. I mean, he's expanding DDP Yoga over to the NFL and athletes that go beyond wrestling. It is an amazing time to be DDP. And he's one of my favorite guys to talk to. So I thought, a lot of, if you've got SiriusXM already or you listen to the morning show already, then you can go ahead and skip to State of Wrestling if you want to. But if for whatever reason you didn't get a chance to hear this interview, I wanted to make sure you guys, the loyal supporters of Not Sam Wrestling, got a chance to hear it. It's a fabulous interview, and it's a good taste of what goes on with me and Jim Norton every morning on SiriusXM as well. So enjoy it. Here it is this week on Not Sam Wrestling, the master of the diamond cutter, the creator of the self high five. This is Diamond Dallas Page.
The Not Sam Wrestling interview.
For those that don't know, he's got an amazing story, and I feel like your story just, as you go, it just keeps getting kind of more and more amazing. There's always something tacked on to the end every time you go. You start pro wrestling when you're like, 35? Is that right?
35 and a half, yeah.
So that's when you start training to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody's going, your time's up, your time's passed, it's not going to happen.
You're out of your mind.
You become WCW World Champion at, by the way, wrestling's hottest point. This is during the Monday Night Wars. This is Goldberg and Stone Cold and The Rock and everything. And you're how old when you're WCW champion for the first time?
Well, when I came back, I was 43.
Right.
Because I ruptured my L4 and L5, which is where the whole DDP Yoga thing comes from. And, it looked like I was never going to come back. So for me to be able to come back after 3 top spine specialists tell me you're done, and then 3 months later, I'm back, and then I'm in the ring with Hogan, Sting, and Flair.
Right.
I mean, you could arguably, people will argue that they're the best 3 of all time. You know what I mean? And there's so many guys that are interchangeable, from Stone Cold to Dusty Rhodes to whoever, Jake the Snake Roberts. But bottom line is, I was in a ring with 3 of the biggest names of all time. And I'll tell you, after that match was over, and Hulk had me put him out in Bret Hart's figure 4 leg lock on the ring post, which really looks like it hurts like hell. And I'm sure if I wanted it to, it could. But he had a bad knee, and he needed to get work done. And he wanted to sort of set things up in an angle for us down the road. And so he went, during that 4-way dance we did, he left early, in the match. And then when I got the world title, and I walked back in the locker room, and it was just me and Hulk. And here's Hulk.
So, by the way, you win that match where you got Sting and Flair and Hogan.
Right. Frick Flair, I thanked him. I never really thanked him properly because we had a little bit of tension in our careers with each other.
How come?
I don't even know, but I never wanted it because I love Ric Flair, And about 9 years ago, remember when they dropped all the balloons for him in WWE? It was like the real retirement for somebody. I thought, man, I'm going to fix this with this. I'm going to try. So we're both at a signing in Jersey, and we're both in the green room. And Rick, came in and he got flooded with everybody. And then he turns around to me and him. He's like, "Hey, Diamond." I'm like, "Hey, Rick, can I talk to you for a sec?" He's like, "Sure, of course." I said, "Hey, man, listen, I know over the years me and you have had heat together." He goes, "Oh, Diamond, don't worry about that." I go, "Rick, I'm not worried about it. I want to try and fix it." I said, "I don't know what happened. I really don't. I know I've said some stuff. I know you said some stuff." I go, "I don't want to feel this way about you, bro." I go, "I love Ric Flair." I said, "I would love to start all over again." And I put my hand out and I said, "I'm Diamond Dallas Page." And he popped. And he gave me a big hug. And God bless you, brother. And bottom line, that was 9 years ago. And I've had the greatest relationship with Rick since then. So I never really got to thank him the way I wanted to because of the ego.
You weren't getting along, yeah.
I thanked him, but I didn't really thank him. But when I went in the Hall of Fame in 2017, I got a chance to really thank him. And it just felt so good, and I know he felt good about it. And then we're getting ready to leave. You stay there for 4 days when you go down for the Hall of Fame. You've been down there. And the night before, Rick and I are at the bar. And he goes, "So what time's your flight?" I said, 7:30. He's like, "Oh, who booked that?" I go, "Not me." And he's like, "You're not taking that flight." He goes, "You're still in Atlanta, right?" I said, yeah. He goes, I got a Learjet. You and Brenda are coming home with me.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. So the next day, we're Learjetting, limousine riding, Learjet flying with Ric Flair. He found out it was my birthday, and then he wouldn't let me go home. So he took me and Brenda to dinner, and he's just he's a super special guy, and I'm just so glad that we're in an awesome spot.
Everything is good, yeah. What did you do before? You wrestled when you're 35. What did you do before that?
I was in the nightclub business. I was running nightclubs since I was 22. And it's so funny to meet Jake the Snake Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the story is I tried to wrestle when I was 22. I had 3 matches. I sucked. I hurt my knee, and I got my first opportunity to run it was a rock and roll bar. 1 bar, band in the back, small, but it was fun. And I'd been in business since I was 17. Started a day crew, bouncer, bartender. I'd done everything except for manage. So now I get to manage this place.
Where was it?
It was in South Orange, New Jersey. It was called 23 Valley Street, and there was 3 bars right next to each other. So it was a great little hub. And what happened was, I got that opportunity right after I banged my knee up, and I was starting to wrestle, and I sort of got away from the dream. I left it
Because you're making money.
and it's the booze, the broads, the party. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
When you're managing a nightclub, are you able to meet women?
The booze, the broads, the party. No, it was a lot of fun, and I kind of got lost, and I didn't really. I was making good money, and I had a great time, and I sort of left the dream of And every time I set a goal for myself, I pretty much come pretty close to hitting, or I rocket past it, and I just sort of lost it. And then I'm flicking the channels. In the 80s, it's like 78, 79. I'm 62, so wrestling hadn't blown up yet, but in a couple of years in the 80s, it blew up. It was, Hulkamania and everything. And I was so mad that I didn't pay my dues. I stopped watching wrestling. And then one day I was flicking the channels and I see Gorilla Monsoon and this guy with this do-rag and the freaking sunglasses, and it's Jesse Ventura.
We were just talking about him and Ozzy.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled me in. Like, who is this guy? I got dressed up as Halloween that year, But the next match that came out, he had a bag over his shoulder, and it's Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm like, who is this guy? So now I'm sucked back in watching. And I leave the club that I was at. I end up at a club down in Fort Myers, Florida, that I'm running, and it's a big place now. We got 6 bars, 12 bartenders. Places humping. 1,000+ people on the weekends. So if you're in Miami and you're going to Tampa and you're wrestling, like you do a loop, you do different areas. Well, that's 300 miles. Right in the middle is Fort Myers. So Jake stopped off there. And I was in the back, and I'm looking at the mirror, the cameras at the front door, and I'm thinking, God, that guy looks like Jake Snake Roberts. So I run around the outside of the building because it was too packed in the building, in the club. I run around the outside, and I go to my girl at the front door. I go, Judy, did a guy just walk in here look like Jake Snake Roberts? She goes, yeah, God, everybody thinks it's him. So I go running around the corner. When I see him, I slow down because I got to be cool.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
Like you happened upon it.
And I walked up to him and I said, hey, man, I go, you Jake the Snake Roberts? Who wants to know? I said, the guy who runs the place. He goes, yeah. I said, what are we drinking?
Yeah.
So-
because, by the way, who wants to know? And you go, the guy that runs the place, he's like, okay, free drinks.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm Jake the Snake
Exactly.
Roberts. Yeah, I am.
And what Jake, when you really think about it, we became drinking buddies, and he'd come in occasionally. Ted DiBiase, Bushwhackers, Janetti, and Michaels. I mean, so many guys came through there. But the whole thing with Jake, when you really think about it, we started off as drinking buddies, and then later in the resurrection of Jake the Snake, I'm trying to get him to stop drinking.
Well, here's the wild thing about DDP is that, so, he comes back to wrestling. He comes up with this yoga method for himself. He starts to develop it into a business. He starts teaching other people. He starts, coming out with DVDs and all this stuff. And, the thing about wrestlers is that they're all carnies, right? Like,
Sure.
wrestling is a carny business. So when DDP Yoga came out, when you started pushing this
Right.
thing, I'm like sitting there going like, okay, like I like DDP, but what's the angle here? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And then
Because you don't think yoga is very masculine, is that what you're saying?
this isn't your mama's yoga, Jim. This is a different type of yoga. But no, I'm going like, okay, like this is a sales job, right?
Well,
like because a lot of wrestlers will do stuff like that. But
Right.
then what DDP did was he goes, I'm going to take Jake the Snake Roberts and I'm going to take Scott Hall, who was Razor Ramon. And these are two guys that for the longest time, anybody that had like a wrestler death clock list thing, these are the two biggest sort of
1 and 2
tragedy stories. Addicts, just messed up all the time. Every 3 months, another story, like just waiting to get that awful phone call one day. And DDP legit moved him into his house, said, I'm going to get you guys better, filmed the whole thing. And all of a sudden you go, holy shit, this thing is real.
Yeah, the
Like, this
documentary was great. I remember
This
that.
is real. Yeah.
And anybody who hasn't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime right now, and Hulu just picked it up as well, which
That's
is really
great.
cool because other people will get a chance to see it. And I always tell people, if you have someone, there's a lot of real wrestling fans listen to your show, but a lot of ones are not wrestling fans.
Exactly.
But I challenge anybody who hates wrestling, because it's not about wrestling, to watch, Resurrection Jake the Snake, because it'll definitely change your skew, on what you think. And
By the way, you showed ugly stuff in it.
yeah,
Like, it's not this,
we filmed everything.
Yeah.
It was over 500 hours. And my buddy Steve Yu, who's the president of DDPY, which now I'm branding everything, as you can see, DDPY. Why? Because I want people to stop calling it just yoga, because it's not. They want
it's
to
a lifestyle, Jim.
Yeah, and people. Have you ever done yoga?
I mean, I've tried it. I've tried
you've
it.
tried it. So
Yeah,
you've tried
but
it.
minimal. I can't say I've even done it. I've for a few weeks. Yeah, I did try hot yoga. Yeah,
So
some
you
trouble
try
get
with
an
it.
idea what it was.
Sure.
If you walked into that and you walked into mine, you'd go, what the fuck is this? It's like,
Right.
this isn't yoga.
Right.
Like, yes, but no. So, bottom line is, I'm trying to get people to stop calling it yoga, and it's going to just yoga. I'm good with DDP yoga, but it's all about branding. Everything. It's like, what's the name of the show?
Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Right. If it was Bill, Tuesday and Sam Wednesday, that wouldn't be the name.
Right.
People wouldn't know how to find it. You
Right.
gotta, and you gotta give something that people can understand. And so, DDPY, like, if people could say P90X, if they could say that, and everybody knows what P90X is, tell me what it means.
Right.
Nobody knows.
No clue.
Nobody knows.
No clue.
But it was a great workout. And it did 500 million units. So obviously it worked. Obviously it worked.
What do you do for 90 days? Is that what the one you do?
That was a 90-day deal. But, everybody, if you can say P90X, you can say DDPY. And it's going to take me about 3 years. But that's a little piece of the branding and throwing it out there into the universe.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it started, it wasn't DDP Yoga. It was
No, yoga for regular guys.
Right, right.
And it's like reinventing itself.
Right.
Reinventing itself. We're about to, and it's not yet, but I know it's so close I could talk about it. We're about to sign a partnership with the NFL alumni.
Wow.
That's great.
How cool is that?
That's huge.
That's huge because I want to be able to help you, and I'm giving it to these guys.
Yeah.
I want to. There's going to be a couple that'll start, and then those guys are going to see their friends start to feel better. They're going to see them start to get more mobile. They're going to start to see them get stronger. They might lose weight. Whatever it is. It was never about weight loss. Did you happen to see the video that went viral over Christmas?
Which one? You always have viral videos popping up.
It's a guy's name with Vance Hines. He was he's a district attorney.
Okay.
470 pounds. Now this is how it happens. This is how powerful the internet is. Bert Kreischer, someone had said
Also
something-
470 pounds.
Yeah, that's right. Very, very fat.
Bert, someone had said to Bert, you should have DDP on your podcast. And he said, I'd love to have DDP on my podcast. So I went over to follow Bert, and I see this guy, he's got a camera, and he's holding the camera out, and he's videoing himself without his shirt on. He's 475 pounds. He's a district attorney. He's 52 years old. Now, you know how those guys do the Sober October thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
So last Sober October, he's sitting there and they're talking, and Kreischer says, I'm going to run a half a marathon. And they're going, yeah, right, fuck you. You ain't running anything. They're making fun of him. He ran it. When, he filmed himself going over the finish line, the whole deal. And when Vance saw that, he thought, you know what, if Bert can get off the phone, get off the couch, so can I. So here I see him about a month and a half later, he's down about 15 pounds. So I just tweeted him. I said, hey, man, if you never need any help, I can see you're serious. Let me know. And he DM'd me back. And he said, I'm sorry, but I had no idea who the hell you were. But when you said you offered help, you know, my Twitter lit up saying, if you don't, you can get DDP's help. You don't take it. You're crazy. He said, I used to say no to everything. He said, now I'm saying yes to everything. Yes, I'll take your help. 1 year to the day, Jimbo. 1 year to the day, he lost 198 pounds.
Jesus. Wow.
And that's just from eating real food and eating real food and doing my workouts, but not just also walking too, because he couldn't really walk that far in the beginning. But you get stronger, you can do things that you want to do. And then he wanted to do jujitsu. And I go, dude, I love jujitsu, but not good for you. Like you're 52, you're a beat up athlete, and no, I can do it. I said, let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to get hurt. You're going to feel good, and then you're going to push yourself. Then you're going to get hurt.
Isn't that what people said to you?
Yeah, but I'm not saying never do it. I'm just saying not yet. You're
We're not
still
there yet.
340 pounds. You know,
Gotcha.
like let's get you down in twos. And bottom line is, he hurt himself, and he was so embarrassed.
How did he hurt himself? Just doing jujitsu?
Yeah, you know, because you start rolling, and if you're keeping it really nice, where you're just going from one move to another, it's easy. But then ego kind of steps in, and you just kind of think, well, he's not going to do this to me. And I think jujitsu is the greatest. Every single kid should do it, because bottom line is, if bullies and everything, jujitsu, how many bullies are going to be screwing with you?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great
Have you
thing
learned
to do.
jujitsu yet? I saw photos of you and Matt Serra shirtless, and I couldn't tell the difference.
Matt is totally bald. I have a little
Oh,
bit
is
of
that
hair.
okay? I'm gonna have to go
yeah.
back and look at that.
Yeah.
You know Matt Serra, the UFC fighter?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we
But he hasn't. You haven't looked into learning any, because you were talking about doing jiu-jitsu.
I know I want to do it, but I have sleep apnea. I'm a terrible sleeper, so I'm always tired. And it's like Jimmy Rivera from the UFC. He reached out to me. He's like, dude, he has a gym not far from my house. Like I'm just really stupid. It's something I want to do it.
You know, if you just start doing it, it's like I was telling everybody, if you just start doing anything, the more active you get, the more energy you'll have.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to food, like what you're eating. I try to educate people, watch Food Inc., watch Genetic Roulette. And when you understand what they've done to our food, you'll kind of understand why you're so lethargic.
But I don't understand. I watch these.
My eating's actually pretty good. Like I have 3 donuts every morning.
That's the
you
exact
charged up.
example. You're just lucky you have great genetics, you can stay skinny.
Thank you.
But you're like skinny fat.
I watch all these documentaries though, and I feel like every time you turn one on, it's another food and another food and another food, and I haven't found what you can actually eat. I feel like no matter what, there is some documentary that will tell you this isn't good either.
This is bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. Because if you're eating organic
Is that an
vegetables-
excuse I just made up?
Yes, you
I see.
did.
I see.
Yes, but no.
I see.
People get, comedians especially busting balls on, oh God, organic this or organic that. Or organic, what our great grandparents used to call food. Because
Right.
everything was fucking organic. Like everything. And now it's not.
Right.
And if you really want to, if you look at the numbers in the last 30 years, what's happened with cancer, like through the roof. Think of the pesticides on the vegetables. Like, take any pesticide, spray it on your tongue, see what happens.
I've had worse.
On your tongue, chest, back.
You bet I have it in my hiney.
Oh, good God.
That's a high protein diet, so that should be fine.
Yeah.
What would you say at this point is the thing that you're most proud of? Because you put out this book, Positively Unstoppable: The Art of Owning It, and it is like what I like about what you're doing is everything's in here. Right? It's not like if you buy this, then you buy that, and then you buy that. Like I was reading it, and it's part your story, it's part all the yoga techniques, it's part recipes.
What techniques?
Yoga.
DDPY.
DDPY.
DDPY
Thank you.
techniques.
Thank
It's not
you.
yoga. There's dynamic resistance. There's all this stuff.
Right.
Part DDPY techniques, but it's everything packed into the book. But what do you think is the thing that you're most proud of? Because you had the Arthur video that you've seen, Jim, that went everywhere. That kind of launched the whole thing.
I think Jake's movie.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for Jake, I'm not sitting here. And I always there's times where I got to go because Jake come in to stay with me all the time, and my daughter Lexi, she said one time she said something about Jake and is he coming back? I said yeah. She goes, how come you guys are so tight? I said, Lexi, we're probably not living in this house if it wasn't for Jake. I remember him and Dusty Rhodes helping me back in the day. For me, that movie, it meant so much, and it really changed so many people's lives. And then maybe the next thing is like this Positively Unstoppable book, because it's everything that I try to teach everybody, but I can't talk to one person all the time. I can specialize, and I really work with people. Like, if you know how many people I was working with right now that have reached out and put the video out, just like Vance did, and that I've reached out to, and then I give them the list. And the list, which is in the book, tells you all the things you need to do. Like, what did Arthur do? What did Vance do? What did Stacey Morris do? They took the pictures, they took the measurements, they wrote their goals, they started writing down what they ate. They literally started changing their life. They actually started owning it. That's what they did. I use one example after another in Positively Unstoppable. And when you have that, it's almost like I'm with you, going through it with you. And the bottom line is, if I see you online and I see you working your ass off and you're getting these transformations, you're putting the work in, you're going to hear from me. You just are. Because I really do. When you see at Real DDP or at DDP Yoga on Twitter or Instagram at Diamond Dallas Page or at the DDP Yoga, sometimes people on Twitter will get a little upset with me and they'll go, man, DDP, you're filling up my feed. I'm writing all inspiring things to all the people. I go, hey, monkey, I'm not doing it for you. Stop fucking following me.
Or just mute you for a week.
Yeah. I don't care. If you don't want to see the stuff I'm writing, get rid of me. Don't follow me.
Right.
I don't care if there's 3,000 people or 33 million. I want the 3,000 that are actually paying attention.
How do you? A couple years ago, you were on Raw, and you showed up, and the segment that you were on, you were wearing a DDP Yoga T-shirt.
Yeah,
you were doing DDP, like it was basically just a commercial for what you're doing.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there going, how does DDP just show up and Vince is like, hey, you want a commercial?
And they don't blur out the
nothing's
thing that
blurred
they normally
out.
do on
He's
TV.
sitting there like holding his foot up in the air, doing a move, like he's teaching DDP Yoga on the show to the characters. And I'm going like, this is literally the greatest commercial anyone could ask for.
I'll tell you, there's a great story behind that. But I got to tell you, a lot of people have been asking me all about, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, Cody Rhodes and what's happening with AEW. And are you going to go there? It's like, you have to understand, I love Cody. He's like my nephew. And I will help him and do whatever he needs me to do. But I'm a WWE guy. And I'm a WWE guy because it wasn't the greatest when I got there. But the last 8 years have been amazing. And
Jim, when DDP showed up to WWE for the first time, the storyline that they sacked him with was he was stalking the Undertaker's wife.
not a good angle for me.
And everybody sat there and like he revealed himself, and everydy's like,
great pop when it happened.
Well, because you were there,
right.
But then really quickly, everybody's like, why would DDP be stalking the Undertaker's wife?
Right.
Did he not like that storyline?
No. And, and it really, it was what it was.
It doesn't make any sense.
Let's beat down the WCW guy. Let's beat him down bad. But, it was okay because I knew I had to just breathe and just keep my mouth shut. And eventually, what I did in WCW was going to rise back up, especially with the Hall of Fame. And they gave me so many opportunities, from being the host of the Monday Night Wars, as far as the Best of Nitro. There were so many cool things on that show. Particularly, they started bringing me in for different shows too, which was great. But that show particularly, that was the show that Jake was going to show up at.
The one that we're talking about, where you got your commercial on Raw for
and nobody knew. Nobody knew except for me and, Triple H, Vince, of course, and Jake. And they had Jake super hidden, stuck in a bus and everything. And Triple H came up to me. He goes, "All right, D." He goes, "Just do that thing you do. Get your stuff over, and do the foot over the head thing. People love that, And that's how cool they've been to me. So I'm a loyal guy. And they've been really good to me.
That's amazing that you just show up. They're like, just get your shit over, and you'll be good.
It was amazing. Now let me tell you what happened from that.
Yeah, we'll get right back to DDP, but I always like to give you guys recommendations, and if you're in New York, I've got a fabulous recommendation for you, and that is for this weekend. Matter of fact, Friday night, February 15th, it's ICW New York. One of the great independent wrestling organizations in New York is putting on a show live from Ultimate Fitness Queens that's in Woodside, New York, and you got to hear what they have planned for you. They've got Nick Gage going one-on-one with Scott Steiner. Nick Gage, the same guy that busted a light tube over David Arquette, he's actually going to wrestle Scott Steiner in New York. You've got Maria Manic versus Penelope Ford. Or, if you're Booker T, Penelope Ford. You've got Teddy Hart in action. My buddy Azriel is fighting Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy just got signed to AEW, the son of Luke Perry. You can see what everybody's talking about, and you can see him live. Jungle Boy is going to be there. A whole bunch of people. Chris Dickinson is going to be there. The Grim Reaper is going to be there. It's great independent wrestling action, and it's going to be in New York. You can get your tickets. There's a link on the ICW New York Twitter account. It's ICW New York, twitter.com/ICW New York. You can go to tinyurl.com/ICW tickets to get the tickets. And if you're not in New York, they're going to be streaming live. February 15th, IWTV.live. And you're going to be able to actually stream this event live. See Scott Steiner versus Nick Gage in person if you're in New York, or streaming live if you're not. There are tickets that are left. TheWrestlingUniverse.com is the place to go for tickets. ICW New York on Twitter. Enjoy the show, and back to DDP.
It shut our servers down. Like, we got hit with so much traffic that it shut our servers down for DDPYoga.com that we couldn't sell anything for like 8 hours. So here's what that was a godsend, because we're about to go on Shark Tank about 9 months later,
which I was reading about just last night.
And if that doesn't happen to us, my business partner Steve Yu doesn't come up with the idea of, let's put on 25 servers as opposed to one.
Right.
So because if we're going to get hit, we made $1 million off of Shark Tank without a deal in 5 days. 5 days. I mean, it put us on the map that year. It literally, and they play it all the time.
I know, so you must get those hits, especially because, see, we were literally just talking about during the break. Every Shark Tank is on Hulu, so people go crazy for it.
Right.
And CNBC
all the time
literally plays 9 hours of Shark Tank 4 days a week. So
when we're on that rotation,
right?
And it always gives us some sort of credibility, and it pops our sales.
They didn't give you there was no deal though.
No, well, I wasn't going to give them any kind of money. I didn't want their money to begin with, because we were already successful by that time.
The story about it is actually great, because you talk about not only once you got there, but getting there. They make you sign this contract, apparently,
right,
where even if you don't get a deal, ABC gets a cut of the business. ABC gets to control the promotion of the business, so you can't be going on other shows.
I couldn't go. I wouldn't be able to come on here. I would have to check with them first.
Right.
And if I was going to do it like a little Fox thing where you're going to come and be at a DDP Yoga workshop, they want to film me, I would have had to call ABC first. It was ridiculous.
And is that forever?
No, it would only over that 18-month period.
But for the next 18 months.
But when the contract first came out, the 5% that ABC got, that was locked in.
In perpetuity.
Right, in perpetuity, whether you got a deal or not. But they did kill that. They stopped doing it that year. But what had happened was, the thing I learned, if I just did my business a little differently when I went to WWE, if I would have done what I did at Shark Tank, it would have been a whole different story. If I would have got up from the table and said, Vince, this is an awesome idea, this stalker angle, but not for me. When you want to do People's Champion versus People's Champion, give me a call. The People's Champion was The Rock,
Right.
biggest star in the world now, which everybody is so friggin' proud of, man, because he is the man. But at the time, I was originally People's Champion, and he was using it, so it would have been a great angle. If I would have said, what if I would have just got up from the table and walked away? So I thank Vince so many times, and last time was when I went in the Hall of Fame, but I thanked him because if I didn't go through that, I never would have learned. If you really believe in yourself, you need to get up and walk away from the table. So Shark Tank took me 5 interviews, and then they make you fill out 27 pages of shit, basically signing everything over to give them control. And I was getting ready to go to Chattanooga, and my business partner Steve says, he's like, "Hey, bro, what are we gonna do about the contract?" I go, here's what you're going to do. Send him an email. Say, "I appreciate the opportunity. We love the show, but we're going to pass." And he went, "What? We've been working on this for 2 years." I go, "Dude, I can't let anybody put me in a box again." I said, "We will either make it on what we're doing, or I'm not going to put."
Because ABC is going to make you stalk the Undertaker's wife again. You're going to be stuck.
It wouldn't be a good idea. So bottom line is, it was a great move. They called me 90 minutes later. As I was pulling in Chattanooga, how do we fix this? And it just, I learned.
And you
so
told them
much.
what you didn't want in the contract. I don't
Exactly.
Want, yeah.
And 4 contracts later, I finally signed it. And it was the greatest experience for my company. It was just, as a businessman, it was an amazing. Shark Tank they'll be around forever, I think.
It's the best show ever.
And it's real reality.
Yeah.
It's not that bullshit reality. It's like what you see now, you don't get to see everything because it's an hour they film you. And Mr. Wonderful at one point looks at Steve and he goes, "So let me ask you, in the world of fitness, back then it was Beachbody, Gaiam, which is yoga, and really nobody else. Everybody else, you could fill probably the Met Center with all the DVDs that celebrities or athletes have done to try to sell. Jane Fonda did it well, and it worked.
She did, yeah.
But most
the workout videos from the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Very sexy.
It made millions of dollars.
You like
Yeah.
those?
Oh, yeah.
But
Did
most
you have those as a younger man?
I didn't, but I peeked at them when I could. You did. She was a very flexible young lady, for a communist.
she was hot. She was hot back then.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, he's like, how do you guys make the money? And Steve said, "We inspire people." He went, yeah, that's great. But how do you make the
Yeah,
money?
Mr. Wonderful is not trying to hear that. Mr. Wonderful doesn't care what you're doing to people unless it's fishing money out of their pockets.
Right. I go, "Dude, we inspire people. That's what we do. Like, that's our method of how we get the word out." It's like Positively Unstoppable, the book. Right now we decided we're going to do a Positively Unstoppable challenge, where if people go to positivelyunstoppable.com, they can sign up. If they transform their body, it's going to be your body and your mind. They'll have a chance to win $1 million.
Jesus.
And it's
How do you know if they transform their mind? They might just be lying.
No, you got to write stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's going to be written stuff in there. And there'll be questions, and there'll be a written thing at the end. So the body is like, this is an example. If you're going to take pictures, the person, if say 2 people look kind of similar, had this great 4-month transformation, and this person has a newspaper that says January 21st on it, and the other person doesn't, that person's going to go up the ladder because they can qualify everything. Videoing their workouts. Like, the thing that was so amazing about Vance Hines' work, his video, is he filmed himself everywhere. We had when we made a video for him, we probably had about close to 400 hours because he would tape his workouts and you just zip through some of that. But to catch him talking, and actually have that moment where he's desperate. And so many people don't have hope. And this guy inspired so many people. We did over 22 million views on YouTube in 7 days.
Oh, my God.
22 million. Friends of mine were going, "Dude, I've seen that video like 3 times. It's going around the horn. People sharing it."
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? And that's him right up there. Vance loses 198 pounds in 1 year. And it's a great story, and he's a great guy.
Yeah. Now, handsome Rob over here. I literally didn't know this until this morning. He's sitting there in the office, and we're just kind of chatting about what we're going to do on the show today. And he goes, and this is a quote. Travis put it on the prep sheet for us. I love DDP Yoga. It's fun. It's awesome. You get to make the workout your own. Like, he's doing the lines. And I'm going, no, Rob, you don't. And he's like, yeah, he never mentioned it.
Oh,
he
that's
never told us.
tremendous.
He does DDP Yoga. Rob, do you want to, do you have a favorite DDP Yoga?
I'm a big fan of the red core workout.
Red Hot Core.
Red hot core. Yeah.
Jim, you don't know these though, right?
Red Hot Core? No, I don't.
It's great. It's like 12
imagine it
minutes,
works on your abs.
and it's just abs, and it's awesome.
Do you want to see some examples?
I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Could
I
you
have
actually?
a before picture because I got it in December.
You
and
really are. You're
I
doing
actually,
this.
yeah. I mean, I
This
figured
is
why
not
not?
set up, people. This is not.
I swear to God, I would
I
have
didn't
told
know
you
that you
before
were
I
coming
talked
in
to
or
you.
anything like that. I just figured I saw all these videos of people getting transformed and everything. I was like,
When you
yeah, why
started
not?
as a twink, what do you want to be?
Oh, I want to get like kind of more cut,
Buff,
I
say
guess.
buff.
Yeah, you want to get buff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to be a
So,
hunk, Rob.
Yeah.
I want to be
Admit
a,
it.
yes, I do want to be a hunk.
Exactly.
So
Yes. Right now, he
So
spends
let
the
me see.
world.
Let me see your before and after pictures, bro.
well,
But you know this isn't a set because I talked to you 3 days ago. I would have told you if I had known.
I love it. This is what happens, dude. We got in the car the other day. My wife and I. We were leaving my friend Kent Backler's party, and we got in an Uber. And then me and her were talking, and we weren't talking to the driver. And at some point, I say something about DDP Yoga. He goes, "Oh man!" The driver goes, "That stuff really works." He goes, "I do it for my back. I've gotten all over all my back pain. You got to. I mean, what he did for Jericho. That's why I did it." And Brenda goes, "Do you look in your rearview mirror yet?" And he goes, "Oh my God, DDP!" This is the funny part, though. When he pulled up, I go, "Hey, man, you mind if I sit in the front seat?" No, you got to sit in the back. So he made me sit in the back, and she goes, "And you wouldn't let him sit in the front." He goes, "You want me to pull over right now? You can sit in the front."
Why would he say no to sitting in the front?
Some people don't want to be right there, They take them out. Who
yeah,
knows?
sure.
There's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I wouldn't feel much safer with you behind me. I mean, we've all seen the Clemenza scene. Fucking.
Look at the intense look on Rob's face in his
That's-
before
he
photo.
looks
He
like
literally looks
before.
like the guy from 10 to Midnight who was running naked down the street that Bronson had to kill. What a creep.
This is the cover of the New York Post, and it says manifesto under it.
Yeah, it does. Man with pepperoni nipples goes on spree.
I haven't taken an after one because I'm not finished yet or anything like that.
What's that group of guys that are mad that can't get laid?
Oh, incels.
This looks like an incel membership card.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'll teach them to tease me.
Should I take off my shirt and show you?
I was
the-
just thinking.
Yeah, go for it. dude.
Of course you should.
Unbutton it. What are you doing?
No, he pulls it
It's
up.
a button shirt. And he takes them both off like it's a.
I got two in there, but yeah, I mean,
Looking pretty
I
lean,
feel,
brother.
You're getting
I
abs.
feel
Yeah.
a lot
Looking pretty
better. It's
lean.
like,
Is
you
there
know,
is there a
Look at
yoga?
him.
Is there a DDPY move that can shrink the nipple size?
yeah, is there,
No,
Yeah.
they
The
don't
nips.
Because
exist.
that's embarrassing.
but I feel a lot better. I feel more energized every day. It's good.
The abs look really good. Is there anything that works on the muscle tone of the arms of the chest, or like you just doing abs?
Hey, Jim, that's insulting the way.
No,
I'm doing
Because it
a
sounds like
lot
you're
of the-
saying he has meaty breasts.
I'm
not
doing-
meaty, no.
I'm
Oh,
doing
okay.
the diamond dozen a lot because 2 years ago I had a herniated disc and a pinched nerve from golf, and that's like my favorite sport ever.
Right.
And so
Cool.
I'm trying to just get it fixed.
So for how long have you been doing it?
I started in December.
So
Only a month.
Here's what I'm going to tell you: just work your way up to that diamond cutter workout,
Yeah.
or that double black diamond, because that'll really work your whole body big time. Cool. Goes from like my beginner workouts start in bed. Like you can't get out of bed. I got 3 workouts for you in bed that'll help you get in a chair, and then I got 8 workouts in a chair that'll help you get out of the chair and use the chair. And then you work your way to beginner, intermediate stuff. I'm talking to him about is like advanced stuff that will not only, because of you're not just stretching, you're stretching and strengthening the muscles, ligaments, and tendons, that you end up in a spot where your golf. I want to know how far your long shot is right now.
My drive?
Your drive, and where it's going to be next year.
Okay.
Like
Sure.
it will increase. I've had guys increase 60 yards,
Yeah.
like
Right.
60.
Before you put your shirt on, I
Yes.
need to, it's important to know, I think, if you've got the guy right here, you don't want to be doing it wrong the whole time. So don't you think some of his technique should be looked at?
100%, because I don't know. I'm not familiar with the workout.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Right.
Come on over here, my man.
This is great.
Come on over here.
This is
Okay.
good stuff.
Yeah.
First thing I want to do is square your body this way here so we got the
We should,
camera.
mic
Where's
it.
the camera? It's going to be over there?
Yeah, we got one
I'm
right
boosting
there.
it.
Back up just a little bit. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to get you on using a dynamic resistance. All right.
Okay.
So what I want you to do
Look
is
how much smaller Rob is than DDP.
Yes.
They're not even the same species.
Yes, it's just a man talking to his son or
now,
daughter.
instead of your feet going out, turn them in. There you go. Now slightly bend your knees. Now I want you to grip your toes into the mat or your sneakers. No. Stay
No.
there. Just
Bends
grip
over.
Your toes. Grip your toes. All right.
He's used to
now I
it.
want you to try to
Grab your ankles.
First thing he does
don't make it that monkey.
when there's a taller man. Right? Yes, sir.
Okay, spread your legs and grab your ankles.
Yes, sir.
So what I'm trying to do here is get him engaging muscles, because every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get your blood to the muscle.
Of course.
So again, you got your heart monitor on right now? Put
Good.
your heart monitor on right now.
Let's get that heart rate up. Let's get it up. Let's get it up.
Let's see where you're at.
Come on, Rob, today.
Come on now.
What's your heart rate monitor? Wait.
He's got the Apple Watch on here.
Jesus Christ.
I know what he's doing.
Let's
Thanks
see.
a lot for nothing, Tim Cook.
I do.
Steve Jobs
There
would have
you
had
go.
his heart rate going already.
Of course he would have.
Okay, we were looking for a number. Let's see.
85.
Oh, 85. Okay, 80. You're at 80 right now. Let's
Is
see
that
what
good?
happens. You right? Well, that's he's pumped. No, 65, right? 69.
Now that's accurate.
69.
Okay, so 69. Watch it, Jimbo, right there. 63.
63.
He's
Oh
in
my
great
God.
shape. 63. All right, so let's see what happens when he starts engaging flexing muscles.
Okay.
So what I want you to do
Right.
is I want you to grip your toes into your sneakers.
Okay.
Now I want you to try to pull your feet together, but don't move them. Work the adductors. Tuck your tailbone, squeeze your glutes. Reach out and grab the ball. Open those fingers wide. Wide. Awesome. Now,
Squeeze, Rob.
create your own resistance as you're moving. Inhale, take it up.
Squeeze.
Take it longer, higher. Exhale, bring it down. Push your thumb and index fingers together tight.
God damn, look at this
Inhale,
body.
take it back.
Yeah.
Arms out through a T, clench your fists. Hold it up, brother. Tension. Shoulders back, chest out.
Yeah.
Where's your heart right now?
Going.
67.
What?
74.
That's not
Seven-
true. That's
Wow.
not true.
Look at that. Look at
That's
the
not, that's not real heart rate.
look at the welt DDP left on.
Well, DDP left.
He left.
It's like Denzel's back in glory.
DDP left a welt on Rob's chest.
I can take my heart rate from I walk around 80, 85, sometimes 90. I can take up 130, 140.
That quick?
Boom, that quickly.
Did that hurt your chest, Rob?
A little bit.
Let me
Yes.
tell you something, Rob. It is an honor to be. You can for your life say that DDP chopped you.
Yeah.
that's
No,
an
that's a
amazing
good chop. That's a good job.
Look at
there.
that mark.
And I was left-handed.
It's not bad.
Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Rob, if
Hey, Brendan,
DDP, if
we'll get a
DDP,
picture at the end. No, I want to get it while it's red.
yeah, get it while it's all red.
Get it over here, honey.
If DDP chopped me and left that mark on my
put that
chest,
right
I'd get
hand.
it tattooed on.
There you go, right there.
Look at that.
That
We're
was
getting the
pushing.
Jim. Would you like to get chopped across the chest?
No, I would not.
No, me neither.
No, I would not. DDP's a large man.
He's big.
What are you, 6'5"?
6'4".
Yeah, he's a big guy.
And I used to be like 260, and I hated that weight. It was too big for me. I like now I'm like 230, and it's a good weight, it's easier on my knees.
Yeah.
It's at 62. I'm constantly trying to hold back the hands of time, so I don't want to be beating my body up too much.
Well, you look like you're in better shape now than you were when you started wrestling in your 30s.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people say that. It's not the wear and tear of that road is unbelievable.
Right.
Chris Jericho, I was just with him out on that boat cruise he did.
He did Jericho did a wrestling and rock
Oh, wow.
tour where he had comedians, he had bands, he had wrestling. He
Oh,
had everything.
nice.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. It was sold out. It was people had a really great time.
Brad Williams did it.
Did he? Okay.
And Chris, you know who Chris Jericho
I
is,
do,
right?
yeah.
Chris, 7 years ago, herniated his L4, and I blew out my L4 and L5. But Chris herniated his L4. Couldn't sing. Couldn't. They was done wrestling. They're done. I turned him on to my DDPY program. In 5 weeks, he was 85% pain-free. In 3 months, he was 100% pain-free and headline WrestleMania with CM Punk. And let's forget about that. That was 7 years ago. He just headlined in the main event at Tokyo Dome in the main event at 48 years old, and they stole the show.
And
So-
he just, I mean, they just launched a new promotion around him as the biggest star.
Right.
You know, like he's.
I tell you what, I couldn't be any happier for Jericho because everything, like if anybody gets owning it, it's Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
And like he wrote me a really nice thing for the book. He read the book, and we're actually going to do something at the end of this month talking about it. But we become really good friends out of the business, and for so long I've wanted to pay him back for telling everybody, because he told everybody about it, and he gave me a level of credibility amongst the boys. That's what we call ourselves. And now it's probably 50 different of the guys who are top guys who do my stuff.
How's your chest?
It's a little painful.
Does it hurt? But the heart rate is still up, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
You feel it?
That was a good
Now
slap
it's
to
up
the
to
chest.
98. Yeah.
Yeah, he really did. That was a full-on chop.
And that was a baby chop. That was like an off-angle, left-handed chop.
That wasn't your Dr. D. David Schultz
No.
move. Yeah.
I grew up watching him, and
Did you ever see that clip where he slapped John Stossel in his ear?
oh,
Of
my
course. Yeah, I
God.
watched that recently, actually, for some reason.
Yeah.
Man, it's a shame because it ruined his career.
Yeah.
Because
It did,
after
right?
that, because Stossel knew about it, but he didn't think Schultz was going to hit him like that. But I mean, it's not checkers. That's how we hit each other sometimes.
Did he know he was going to hit him?
He knew, and all of a sudden he did it. And Dave had to take the friggin'. I was bummed when he got, booted down, because he never wrestled again. You never saw him, and I loved watching that guy in the ring. He's legit badass.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bounty hunter, like the real deal.
Is that what he does now?
I know he was doing that for years. I don't know
Wow.
what he's doing now. I never got to meet him, but I was always a big fan of him.
Is he
'cause
dead?
No, he's still alive. But he's there's certain guys in the ring. You see him in the ring, you say, man, that's a real life badass right there.
Would you get back in the ring and do anything, or are you not?
Nah, I'd still, if WWE called me to do a diamond cutter or something,
Yeah,
yes.
jump in the Royal
Ah,
Rumble.
What's the
yes.
diamond cutter?
I catch you out of nowhere with my move, and we go, and you're going face plant first, and if you can go with me, and it's you're good, or I can take you and you're going.
So the diamond cutter is your move?
Yeah, it really was the thing that made my career explode. Because
I don't know. For me, it was self high five.
Self high five. Self high five.
When he was a bad guy, he would do self high fives.
People go to high five me, and they say, "What there?" Self high five.
Yeah, I loved it.
But the diamond cutter. One of my greatest moments was I got a phone call from Jake, and all I heard was when I picked up the phone, "Congratulations." I'm like, "Jake?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Congratulations for what?" He said, "Reinventing the DDT," which was his move in the 80s, and it was the move of the 80s.
Yeah.
And my move was absolutely the move of the 90s. And today, you can't watch an independent wrestling show and not see like 12 of them. Because there's so many ways to do it.
Yeah.
So guys try. I mean, sometimes my jaw drops when I see Frankie Kazarian friggin' catch one out of friggin' the moon. Like, this is an example.
Yeah, they say this is the best diamond cutter ever. Eddie Guerrero takes it.
Hey, sets him up. Spencer. Could be another diamond cutter. No, sets him up. Looks like he's going to have a power bomb. He motions for the diamond cutter. The power bomb set up by Page.
Boom!
Oh, wow.
I lost my mind that day. I lost my mind that day. Because it's Eddie's move. Like, Eddie walked up to me, and Eddie was one of the greatest ever.
Eddie Guerrero.
Ever, and a great guy. He came up to me because the move is super over, and he knows I'm going over. He's like, "Hey, D, you ever think about doing diamond cutter out of a power bomb?" And I was like, "How the hell would we even do that?" And I grab him, and he goes, "Boost me up on your shoulder." So I roll him up on my shoulder, and he says, "All right, boost me." So all I did was like throw him, and he spun, and he slid down my back and landed on the ground. I went, "Wow, Eddie, if we could time that. I only did that once.
Yeah, well, because you need somebody like Eddie Guerrero to pull it off, right?
Rey Mysterio,
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero. He was phenomenal in the ring and a great guy.
But you have to pick the other guy up.
And
It's a lot of work.
You don't want to do all that.
No, I do
right?
not.
I mean, you can do the move without picking them up, and that's why a lot of people do it, because you could do it to anybody. But for it to look that cool, you're right. You're not trying to lift because they're so heavy, right?
Yeah, if it's over 200 pounds. No,
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I certainly don't.
So, Sam, it sounds like you actually read Positively Unstoppable.
Well, yeah, I did, because you yelled at me and told me that I had to. I wasn't going to show up and not read it, you know?
It was funny because Stone Cold, he only read the first chapter.
Yeah, that was the other thing. When you told me Stone Cold said that he wished that he read it, like,
Yeah.
if DDP's telling me to read it and Stone Cold wished that he read it, I'd have some balls to walk in here
Sure.
and not have read the book. But the book, it's available now. Positively Unstoppable, The Art of Owning It. And it's everything. So, you know, if you love DDP and you want to just get more DDP, get the book. If you have no idea what's going on, but this all sounds interesting, get the book. It's like it's half, or it's a quarter memoir. It's a quarter self-help. It's a quarter fitness. Everything's in there.
It's one of the things too that fits into our program, so well, because with the app, have you ever looked at our app? I don't think
I haven't looked at the app. No.
The app has like over 180 workouts. Again, it started with laying in bed and go to a chair and work your way up to, so that when he said make the DDPY your own. That's
By the way, those biceps are still flaring.
They sure are. And I guarantee. Can we see your chest?
Yeah, let's take a look
I
at
want
the
to see if
chest,
there's a
Rob.
handprint in his chest. He could have just lifted the shirt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Let me see that. Come over here. Oh, my God. Look at, oh, my. There's the thumb.
You can see the thumb.
There's the fingers. There's the index, the middle finger. You can see the different fingers. That's amazing. You got to get that tattooed on.
Look
dude.
up, Rob. Look so you can take a picture. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And get the flash on.
Hey,
Troy.
Rob, is that a badge of courage or not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's courage. It's honor. It's everything.
Wow, what a great! Literally the handprint is across. You can see the finger separation.
My wife was going, no, what is he doing?
Do fans ever ask you to do that at like signings?
No, they do all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, just waiting for an assault. Like you just hit them too hard, and they're hitting you with an assault lawsuit or something. Like what?
Do you feel that on your chest still?
Yep.
So back to the app.
Right, the app.
All the different workouts, but I've also got recipes in there. So when you're telling me what should I eat, I'm not even going to tell you what to eat. I'm going to cook it for you. And it could be me and Brenda, or me and one of my kids, and, or one of my favorite chefs. And I show you how to eat real food and explain, what it is that we're doing. And literally, it's a cooking show. And then I got Motivational Mondays. Every Monday, there's another motivation. It's over 180 Motivational Mondays up there. So when people tell me how depressed they are and how down they are, well, what do you focus on? What is your lifestyle wrapped around? If it's all around negative shit, of course you're going to be depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, surround yourself. Like I don't ever watch the news, mainly because it's fucking depressing. So I don't want to hear how this
You didn't
girl
see
was-
Donald Trump get Clemson a whole bunch of fast food.
Oh God, I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I can't watch CNN or I was actually watching for a while, and I was getting so mad. Brenda walked over and turned off the TV. She said, "You're not allowed to watch the news anymore."
Wow.
Because it's a negative, and I want to be surrounded around positive shit, because you can have that too, and that Positively Unstoppable, I believe, gives people it teaches them how to live that same lifestyle. And that's all I'm really trying to do, is give them one more tool to help them own their life.
Yeah.
Changing your life, that's cool, but owning your life, that's a whole different level.
Are you owning your life, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even the disastrous parts, it's my fault.
As long as you own it, brother, as long as you're good with it, that's how I feel.
It's my fault.
We'll go out, pick up the book, and thank you, man. It's always fun talking to you.
I appreciate you guys having me
Yeah,
on.
thanks for coming on, man.
Here is Sam Roberts.
Oh, here he is. Yes, thank you to DDP for doing the show this week and for doing the show over on SiriusXM. Always takeaways from DDP. That's why I love this guy. It's always a learning experience with DDP, and he's as real as it gets. A lot of times in wrestling, you don't want to give wrestling a bad name, but a lot of times in wrestling, you meet carnies. You meet guys like Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins that really are pretending that they do a podcast, but all they really want is to try to get their listeners to buy back scratchers. You know, sometimes things aren't exactly as they appear. But with DDP, he is just, I've known him for years now, and he's never flinched. Like, this is the guy that you heard in that interview is the guy that will call me on the phone to tell me something. That is the real life guy. He believes in this DDPY stuff. He's telling the truth. Like, people really do swear by it. It's an amazing thing, and DDP has changed lives. So good for DDP. I just love it, and I love talking to the guy, and I'm glad that I got to share that with you here on Not Sam Wrestling. Speaking of sharing things, man, how about the sharing WWE did with the information that Pat McAfee has signed with WWE. He's signed on the dotted line, and he's moving beyond just the NXT TakeOver shows, but is now an official contributor. You see, and some people were asking, well, what's the difference? When I'm brought into the WWE, for example, and who knows if I'll be brought in again. But when I'm brought into the WWE, it's simply as a guest. They say, Sam, you're not a WWE employee, and I'm not a WWE employee. We want you to come in as an outsider and just kind of give your take on stuff, and that's what I do, and that's what I did the last time they asked me to. But you know, they go, okay, well, so we'll see you again, and then they call you up the next time and go, yep, we would like to invite you in as a guest to come do this takeover panel or whatever the panel is for. And it's great. It's amazing. It's a dream come true. But Pat McAfee is now officially in the gang, but they're doing something really unique. And there was a great interview, and I recommend it highly. Pat McAfee interviewed Michael Cole on his podcast. Now, Michael Cole has only done a few interviews. One of them, we did one years ago, and I re-aired it on a podcast. That podcast probably was years ago as well. But I think that I interviewed Michael Cole on Sirius right around WrestleMania 30. And then in a year or two after that, I re-aired it here on the podcast. And it really is a great interview. And the guy, I mean, you know, when you hear Michael Cole doing interviews, you start to, I hope, get a picture of how much this guy actually contributes and how smart a guy he is and what he's actually all about. But he had a great interview on Pat McAfee's show. And the way he was describing the deal that McAfee signed was really, really interesting in the sense that he was still talking about McAfee like McAfee was an outsider. And he was still talking about McAfee in a way that was like that McAfee would still be doing his outside projects. Like, this doesn't mean that McAfee is now WWE and only WWE. And that really doesn't get done very often. You know, it's clearly a new way of doing business for WWE. I think it's a very 2019 way of doing business. I think it's really cool to see. And I think Pat's a great guy for it. You know, people have been wondering, well, what does this mean? What is he going to do? And I would imagine that there are big plans for him. I have no idea. I talked to him and congratulated him, you know, but I haven't talked to him about the sort of inner workings. I don't really do that, you know. I feel like if there's news that people want to share with me, they'll share it with me, but I don't go prying for personal information. But what I would do if I were in the WWE's position, I would not be surprised to see Pat McAfee sitting in that commentary booth. First of all, it's a pretty good asset that Pat McAfee is a athlete, right? So Pat can get in the ring. I mean, Pat needs to do some training. You know, he knows how to kick a football. He doesn't know how to do anything else. He certainly doesn't know how to wear pants with long legs. But he does know how to kick a football, and he does know how to train to be an athlete. He played in, 2 Super Bowls? So he can be trained to wrestle. So at some point, if they want to get him in there, that's certainly a possibility, I would imagine. But, you know, I heard my buddy Pat do a game for the NFL this season, and he was there for one game, and he made a big enough impact that even people that didn't know, there were people who didn't know who Pat was. And they still put one of his commentary calls on the internet after the game and referred to it as the greatest call in the history of sports. You know, hyperbole, sure. But the fact that you'd even be in that conversation means you did an excellent job. You know, he used to do Rough and Rowdy for Barstool, too. Pat's great behind a microphone. And he's different behind a microphone. And I think he's refreshing behind a microphone. And I absolutely see and I hope, if WWE has their wits about them, Pat is a guy who will end up in a WWE commentary booth. And honestly, he would crush it in a WWE commentary booth. Pat lives for hype. I don't know if you guys realize this. Watch these kickoff shows. Nothing makes, in my experience with Pat McAfee, nothing has made him happier than hyping something up, okay? If you want to get excited about something, ask Pat McAfee to explain it to you. And I think that is one of the biggest assets that he has. He understands athletes, right? And so he has that perspective in doing commentary. But his ability to get you pumped about something allows him to do the selling part of pro wrestling broadcasting as well, which he's excellent, man. And I'm glad that this happened. I'm super glad that it happened. Doesn't mean I don't want it to happen to other people as well, but I'm glad that it happened for Pat. That's the point of this whole thing. That's the point. Now, there's a lot happening for a lot of people. There's a lot happening outside of WWE, but there's a lot happening inside of WWE. WrestleMania season is really ramping up. We've got not Sasha, unfortunately. Well, Sasha ramping up to a big Elimination Chamber tag match, which apparently WWE just tweeted out she is cleared to compete in. You got Charlotte and Becky Lynch, setting the world on fire. It's an amazing time to be a wrestling fan, and that is the energy that we are going to start on as we enter in to the state of wrestling.
It's now time for this week's State of Wrestling.
Welcome in. It's the State of Wrestling for episode 225, and what a week to do a State of Wrestling. The WWE has just been amping up, leading towards WrestleMania. I know that this is the season that this happens, but I don't remember a WrestleMania season where this kind of investment was being placed into WrestleMania at this stage in the game. Before it was even February. I understand we're halfway into February by now, but right the night after the Royal Rumble, starting then and moving forward, WWE has been all about WrestleMania, almost to the point where Elimination Chamber is coming up on Sunday. And on Raw, anyway, I think the show has been more about what's going to be happening in April at WrestleMania than anything going on at the Chamber. At least on Raw. SmackDown, I think they've been concentrating more on the Chamber. But Raw, those two matches, Ronda and Becky and Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, those two matches were announced 24 hours removed from the Royal Rumble. And ever since then, it's been nonstop discussion. It's been nonstop build towards those matches. And that used to be the way it was done, but that was before we lived in an era when there were two pay-per-views between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Now, boy, they're just getting us excited. They're getting us very, very excited, and that's where I want to start this week. Of course, here on the State of Wrestling, which you can watch live, by the way. If you're on Patreon, patreon.com/NotSamWrestling, you can watch the live, as I'm doing the State of Wrestling, you can watch the live video stream on the Patreon page. You can also get the full video after it's posted. You can get the entire video of the State of Wrestling only at patreon.com/NotSamWrestling if you're a Not Sam shill. So, top 5 stories of the week, and I will start with story number 5. And for me, story number 5 this week is the saga of Charlotte and Becky. Charlotte and Becky dominated the opening segments of both Raw and SmackDown, as well as the closing segment of Raw. 3 of the most important segments on WWE television of the week were dominated by Charlotte and Becky. However, and Ronda Rousey. However you feel about the way this storyline is going, first and foremost, we have to say that this is exactly what we wanted. I mean, this is pushing forward the narrative that this Raw Women's Championship match is going to be the most important match at WrestleMania. And the reason for that is not because it's time the women get a match. It's because the storytelling and the anticipation for this match is such that the people in that building and the people watching at home are most excited to see it. And the reason they are is because this is something we've all been waiting for a long time. Now, here's the way the story went down this week. If you missed any of it, just to catch everybody up. Monday Night Raw starts. Triple H and Stephanie are out there. They say, well, guess what? Becky Lynch went to her doctor, and as it turns out, she's fine, and we accept what the doctor said. You did what we asked you, Becky. You went to your doctor, not ours. Still counts, though. Now all you need to do is apologize to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and you can have your WrestleMania match. And Becky said, I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I want to do. I don't know if that's something that's in me. So we spent the whole episode of Raw, and Alexa Bliss was giving Becky Lynch advice, and everybody was out there. Seth Rollins was everybody was giving Becky Lynch advice on what they thought that she should do. And she was stuck. She was sitting there going, what do I do here? She goes out on television, closing segment of the show. By the way, SmackDown Superstar on Raw. That's what a big deal this match is. And she did. She said she was sorry. At first, she wasn't going to shake Triple H and Stephanie's hands, but they said, look, you apologized. You can have the match. It's on. That's it? Yep, that's it. WrestleMania match is back on. Okay, I think we're good. Until, whoa. Excuse me. I didn't think that Vince McMahon voice would be so difficult. Vince McMahon comes out, and he says, enough is enough. He says, I don't accept your apology. You can't be sitting there assaulting bosses. And I was glad that Vince McMahon came out there and said this. Last week, I said that Charlotte should not be involved in the main event of WrestleMania. That this should be Becky's match because Charlotte is going to get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Charlotte's career is built around the fact that she's never going to stop getting opportunities. And for Becky, we don't know when the opportunity to headline WrestleMania is ever going to happen again. Could it happen again next year and all of the years that follow? Sure. Is that a guarantee? Far from it. Is Charlotte going to be able to headline multiple WrestleManias after this one? 100% yes. So take advantage of the fact that this is Becky's moment and give her the moment. Now, sometimes things change, and those things change because of the way a story is being told. People are really upset about the way this story is going down. Some of them are just invested in the story, and some of them are legitimately upset because the plan that they had in their head is not working out. But let's take a look at what happened. So, as Becky Lynch is sitting there not wanting to apologize, as I'm sitting there thinking Becky punched Stephanie McMahon in the face, she slapped Triple H across his jaws, and she's sitting there going, she said, the only thing I'm going to sell out is WrestleMania, because she's saying she's not a sellout. Now, I sat there, right, and I'm going, people won't stop comparing her to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I talked last week about why that's such a waste of time and why people shouldn't be doing that, but they are. People also compare her to Conor McGregor, and that's because the last time somebody with an Irish brogue made a whole bunch of money talking trash, it was Conor McGregor. So, Becky is now doing that, and she gets compared to those two people. Now, both of those two people, much like Becky, act however they want to act in the quest to get what it is that they want to get to. Conor McGregor is throwing forklifts through buses full of UFC employees and fighters, and he's still getting to main event shows. Stone Cold Steve Austin in his prime was getting arrested for assaulting the boss every single week, still getting the main event pay-per-views. And you know why? Because for both of those individuals, Conor McGregor and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the UFC and the WWE knew that there was more money in having them on TV than having them off TV. The UFC has no choice. If Conor McGregor will be in the main event of a show, UFC have to put Conor McGregor in the main event of a show. He is a prize fighter in every sense of the word, and he's going to make UFC a lot of money. UFC will make much, much more money on a pay-per-view if Conor McGregor is on it than if he isn't. Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin was right when Stone Cold Steve Austin spoke about the fact that he was giving Vince McMahon no choice, right? He was going to win the title no matter what. he was right. Because WWE pay-per-views were making more money, much more money, with Stone Cold Steve Austin on them than they were if Stone Cold Steve Austin was off of them. So as I'm watching Becky Lynch, and I'm seeing her kind of invoke this spirit, like, I won the Royal Rumble, so I can do whatever I want. If you try to screw me, I'm going to punch the boss in the face. I'm going to slap the other boss across his cheeks. Whatever I want to do. And I'm sitting there thinking, realistically, what we're seeing with Becky Lynch right now is this amazing organic build. She may very well be the most popular star in WWE. I have a The Man t-shirt. I'm a fan of Becky Lynch. But that character, that person, that superstar is in no way, shape, or form bigger than or anywhere close to as big as WWE. If WWE took her out of the WrestleMania main event, if Stephanie McMahon and Triple H took her out of the WrestleMania main event, then guess what? WrestleMania really doesn't suffer that much. Maybe from a quality standpoint, maybe from the matches that you wanted to see standpoint, but as a fan, are you going to sit there and tell me that you're not going to watch WrestleMania if Becky Lynch isn't on the show? And are you telling me the truth? And what about the people that aren't fans? What about the casual eye that the WWE always counts on for WrestleMania? Are they watching that main event for Becky Lynch? Or are they watching that main event for Ronda Rousey? Out of Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, who's the one that can call their own shots? It's not Becky Lynch. She hasn't built that up yet. She is not that popular. She is not moving the needle to that extent. Stone Cold Steve Austin was as big in WWE as Ronda Rousey was in UFC. As Conor McGregor is in UFC. Stone Cold Steve Austin was that big. Becky Lynch is popular with us, with the WWE fans. But she's not bigger than WWE. Stone Cold Steve Austin became a pop culture figure. If Becky Lynch wants to go out there and call her own shots, she's got to transcend the company. She's got to leave the company in a place where they have no choice but to succumb to her will. Otherwise, any of us with jobs knows you got to play ball. Any of us. I host a morning show on SiriusXM. It's a very popular morning show. We do really well. We make the company a lot of money. But if the company comes to me and says, look, we need you to start doing X. And I say, well, I didn't agree to do X. And they go, well, that's what we need from you right now. I can't slap the boss in the face. I'm going to get fired. And Sirius is going to be okay. Because as much as I'm making the company money, I'm not transcending the company. Right? Becky Lynch, in order to call her own shots, has to get herself to a place where she's transcending the company. And that's not happening right now. So when Vince McMahon came out and said, I don't like your attitude, I was sitting there going, you know what? If this were my company, I wouldn't like Becky Lynch's attitude either. And if this were my company, I wouldn't be sitting there and saying, well, Becky Lynch can get away with whatever she wants because the fans in this building are cheering for her. I'd be sitting there and saying, there is an amount of money that you need to be bringing into this company that would allow you to completely make your own calls, take your own shots. And Becky Lynch is not bringing in that amount of money to the company yet. So I ended up agreeing with Vince McMahon. I said, if I'm a business owner, I'm going to tell Becky Lynch to calm down too. Becky Lynch maybe needs a timeout if I'm a business owner. And then he introduces Charlotte. He said, Becky, you're suspended for 60 days. Now, Becky already proved that she was not Stone Cold Steve Austin as much as people want her to be because she did apologize. These other people would never have apologized because they would know if you have to apologize, you're admitting you're not bigger than the organization because you know that the organization is going to keep moving without you. And that's why you're apologizing. But if the organization, if you're not as big as the organization is as an individual, and you do have to apologize because you know you will lose your match if you don't, then maybe you also shouldn't be punching the boss in the face. Maybe. So Charlotte comes out, and she gets introduced, and Vince McMahon raises her hand and saying, this is my champion. And everybody, boo, boo, boo. Then Charlotte starts going on Twitter. She starts attacking people. She's not apologizing for anything. She's embracing the fact that she is taking Becky Lynch's match. Then she goes on SmackDown. There's no Becky Lynch on SmackDown because she's suspended for 60 days. So in the meantime, Charlotte is there to announce that she's going to be at Elimination Chamber watching Ronda Rousey's match and that she will dedicate the match that she has with Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania to Becky Lynch. And you know what people did? They booed. I couldn't have less of a problem with what's happening right now. There are people that go, oh, this is stale. Oh, they're injecting the McMahons into this, and they're making it feel like it's not organic anymore with Becky Lynch. Why wouldn't you just let her have it? Like, that theory makes no sense to me. Why won't you just let Becky Lynch be popular and trash talk Ronda Rousey? Because WrestleMania is not for another 2 months. What, are you just going to have Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey do the same thing on TV for the next 2 months? Excuse me for building some drama into the story. And then the WWE sits there, and they've learned from their past transgressions. They really do what they did with guys like Roman Reigns and John Cena, but they do it on camera. You know, the reason John Cena and Roman Reigns were getting booed is because fans felt like those two people were handpicked by the WWE with no regard for who the fans actually wanted to see in that position. So what did they do? They said, okay, fans boo that. Fans are wise to that. They're smart to that. So instead of sending Charlotte out there and acting like she's still a good guy and that fans want to see her in the WrestleMania main event, Vince McMahon literally raises her arm for everybody to see. This is my choice. Screw your Royal Rumble results. This is my choice. By the way, Charlotte was number 29 in the Royal Rumble. I mean, the 29th eliminated person in the Royal Rumble. She was the last person eliminated. Becky Lynch wasn't technically an entrant. Becky Lynch wasn't in the Royal Rumble match. She already had a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. She lost. She wasn't in the Royal Rumble match. Fit Finlay decides to let her in. If the boss of the company says, hey, we have contracts. We have a list of people that we approved of as being in this Royal Rumble match. Your name wasn't on the list, so we're just going to go ahead and delete your participation. Guess who was the last person in that Rumble match? Charlotte. There's a million ways to logically get to a place where Charlotte would be your choice. But you go and you look around, and Charlotte is getting booed in arenas. And Charlotte is getting hate on Twitter. And Charlotte is getting bad articles written about her on websites. And Charlotte is a bad guy. And she's getting booed. We have created a person, a character, a superstar that in 2019 is a bad guy that gets booed. The internet hates Charlotte. The casual fan hates Charlotte. The hardcore fan hates Charlotte. Everywhere you go, people are pissed at Charlotte. They're pissed that Charlotte is in the match with Ronda Rousey. And guess what? Charlotte's embracing it. In a world where I've been wanting to see the bad guy get booed for years now, we've finally gotten to a place where the good guy's not getting booed anymore. The bad guy's getting booed. In fact, the fact that Ronda Rousey has come out in support of Becky Lynch being in the match is making it so that people are feeling sympathetic to Ronda Rousey. And that's another question that people are coming up. Why all of a sudden is Ronda Rousey acting like she has no problem with Becky Lynch? You know, Ronda Rousey was headed towards heel territory. Why is it now she's acting like she's a good guy? Well, Ronda Rousey, and we talked about this when Ronda Rousey first started, Ronda Rousey's in WWE to be a role model. Ronda Rousey, an investment has not been made in Ronda Rousey so that people can boo Ronda Rousey. Right? So Ronda Rousey is being given an opportunity to show her character, to tell the fans, look, I'm on your side. And maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. Maybe fans will still boo her. But Ronda Rousey stole the show at WrestleMania last year in her first match. You know, there's a video that's been around on the internet where they showed on Total Divas Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella training. I think I saw it on Reddit, on Squared Circle on Reddit. They were training for their match that they had together at Ronda's house. Nikki wasn't teaching Ronda. Ronda was teaching Nikki. Ronda Rousey is the real deal. You know, I don't see a huge reason to boo her. So, to me, the idea that she is easing off of being a bad guy is not some grand conspiracy. It's she's not a bad guy. She's a good guy. She's a role model. She's a person that's there to fight competitively, you know? And whether people boo her or cheer her, I think that remains to be seen. Now, what does this mean going forward? What does this mean for WrestleMania? I don't know. Like I said, we've got 2 months before WrestleMania. I would say to sit here and say, Becky Lynch was suspended a week ago. On Monday, she was unsuspended, and then she was suspended again. She had a knee injury. Now she's got a 60-day suspension. Who knows what's going to happen? Is Charlotte going to face Ronda Rousey one-on-one? Probably not. I would say 99% probably not. The idea that Becky Lynch won't be in that match some way, shape, or form is insane. But it's also not a given that it's going to be a triple threat. It might be a triple threat. It could be. But it also might not be. You know, we've got another pay-per-view after Elimination Chamber before WrestleMania. We could have a match between Charlotte and Becky Lynch that determines which one of them gets the shot at WrestleMania. We could have a match that turns it into a triple threat. Maybe Becky Lynch beats Charlotte, and that means she can go to WrestleMania in a triple threat. Maybe it means she takes the match from Charlotte. Either way, at this moment, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And you know why? It's because myself, and if you look at the audience, whether they want to admit it or not, the audience is invested in Charlotte being involved in this story. Everybody that sits there going, I don't want Charlotte being involved in this story, are invested in the fact that Charlotte is. They're all buying in to Charlotte being a bad guy. Her promo on SmackDown was incredible. And she created this X factor that is her, that makes it so that the Ruby Riott Ronda Rousey match at Elimination Chamber now actually has something worth paying attention to. There is now a seed of doubt. Charlotte is talking about getting involved because, you know, this match gets announced and the internet goes, you know, this is not going to be, you know, it's nice to see Ruby get the spot, but Ruby's not winning the title. Ronda's not losing, right? And you know how I feel about matches on pay-per-views that you go into knowing who's going to win. But Charlotte all of a sudden is saying, I'm gonna be there. I'm going to get involved. She's become the X factor. And it makes me want to watch this match. What is Charlotte going to do? How is Ruby Riott going to take advantage of the situation? And where does Becky Lynch fall into this? Because if I had to put money down on something, it would be on the fact that Becky Lynch is not gone for 60 days. Be realistic. But I have no problem with the way the story went, and that's because people are booing the bad guy. And they're doing it in the building, and they're doing it on the internet, and it's exactly the way it should be happening. And realistically, we don't sit there and go, you know, this is inspirational what Charlotte's doing, blah, blah, blah. Charlotte gets to be a bad guy at the main event of WrestleMania. I'm not mad at it. Becky Lynch is now a hero that has 2 mountains to conquer, and I'm okay. I'm okay. Let's move on to story number 4. Story number 4 this week on the State of Wrestling. The AEW press conference went down at the end of last week. It's the second press conference. It's the on-sale announcement for tickets. By the way, tickets to Double or Nothing went on sale. This is being recorded on Wednesday, so they went on sale today. sold out in 4 minutes. Now, the pre-sale, I believe, was on Tuesday, and that had a ton of people. I think the tickets allotted for pre-sale sold out very, very quickly on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the remaining tickets sold out in 4 minutes. I think they said it was one of the first times, if not the first time, that a first day sellout has happened for wrestling in Las Vegas. It's a tremendous accomplishment. 2 arenas within the same 365 days being sold out. If you put both on-sale dates together, they still sold out in under an hour for both shows. Under an hour, 20,000 tickets were sold. I think this is another 10,000 seat arena. But that was the big announcement. It was how to get tickets. And I was watching this press conference, and I thought they did some good, and I thought they did some bad. You know, people are looking at AEW as a competitor to WWE. Again, I don't quite see it there yet. WWE is Disney. You know, WWE is a billion-dollar media conglomerate company, not just a wrestling company. But AEW has a ton of money being put into it. I know the whole story. It remains to be seen. I think a lot of questions will be answered when we start to talk about what they have in terms of television, exposure, eyeballs, things like that. That's going to count. And consistency. Is this a promotion that puts on shows every now and then and people get excited and they buy a bunch of tickets? Or is this a promotion that's going to be able to do this consistently for years to come? That also remains to be seen. I think for AEW to be successful, they need to be different, but not different for the sake of rubbing it in the face of WWE. For instance, I liked at this press conference that they didn't have fireworks. I think that they overdid it at the last press conference, and it really made it seem like this is more about WWE than it is about AEW. It felt like all the fireworks going off were just their way of saying, we have fireworks. WWE doesn't use fireworks anymore. They're too expensive for WWE, not too expensive for us. And it's anything that makes you think of WWE, I believe, is wrong for AEW right now. AEW, I think, needs to be outside of the box. It needs to not feel like pro wrestling. You know, there was pro wrestling-y stuff going on at this press conference. 2 things that I thought were annoying were the video of Pac, and these are little details. These are tiny little details that I'm nitpicking, okay? But like when Pac, formerly known as Neville, interrupts Hangman Adam Page, it said via satellite. They acted like the cell phone video was live, and in the corner of the screen it said via satellite. Now, the video was shot vertically, not horizontal. So it was clearly shot on a phone. It's not shot on a satellite phone. Like, clearly this message is not being sent via satellite. If it's live, then it's coming in through FaceTime. And it's 2019. I don't think it would be the worst idea in the world if a FaceTime ring had started going off on the screen behind Paige and have Neville or Pac show up, we accept the FaceTime call, and there's Pac via FaceTime. You know, that's the way people are communicating nowadays. If not, just have the and the video pop up. Don't say it's live. Don't say it's via satellite. I think AEW should not lie. You know, you can work, but you shouldn't just out and out lie to fans who generally will know. I mean, people are smart enough in 2019 to know that this is not a live satellite connection. This is Neville that recorded this video on his cell phone. We know what it looks like when we record videos on our cell phone. So I don't think they should have lied about that. And the other thing, like, I got super excited when the Lucha Brothers came out. I think Pentagon and Phoenix are just the greatest. And, you know, I think those are 2 guys that should have been and hopefully at some point will be in WWE. I just think they're awesome. You know, I think Phoenix is just amazing, and Pentagon is like this all-around package. He's a great character. He's got a great look. He's fun to watch wrestle. I just think he's the best, and he's cool. Like, Phoenix and Pentagon have the cool factor that a lot of people are missing. That said, when the Lucha Brothers interrupted the Young Bucks promo, I was like, this is interesting. Here come the Luchas. Now, it wasn't so far out of the realm of possibility because there had been video a week before of the Young Bucks talking to them about AEW at an independent show. So it's not like this is the first we had heard that they might be talking about doing AEW. But what bugged me is after the whole thing, I thought it was great. I love seeing the moves, the action. You know, I like that storylines are being built already in these press conferences. Like, I'm invested in Pac versus Hangman. I'm invested in, obviously, Omega Jericho too, which I thought that and the face-off, that was awesome. You know, I'm invested now in the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers, not just because it's like a dream match, but because there's a story that started at this press conference. What annoyed me was when Conrad, who I love, by the way, Conrad is a friend of the show, but when Conrad jumps on the screen and he goes, I was backstage all day. The Lucha Bros were not supposed to be here. I don't know what they were doing here. I don't know what that was. And it's like, dude, come on. There was a chyron under the screen. It said Phoenix and Pentagon on the screen when they came out. Clearly, this had been planned. Right? Like, clearly, they're approved by AEW on some level to be there. I felt like I heard a little Conrad talking to Conrad saying, clearly we know that they're supposed to be there. Come on, man. Why would you say that they're not invited guests? And I didn't even think that was necessary. It's like that little thing. It's just like that. It feels old school kind of cheese wrestling to me. And if you had just not said, and this isn't on Conrad, this is on, the organization, because clearly they were being painted as guests that just kind of showed up when nobody thought that they were guests that just kind of showed up, right? The minute you say that, you go, oh, so they lied to us here. And maybe, I'm sure I'm going too deep into this because, again, I'm nitpicking. But if you had just said, man, I didn't expect the Lucha Bros, but that was intense, hopefully we'll be able to settle this. Who knows? Maybe at Double or Nothing, we see the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks. Like, that's so much better than, they weren't supposed to be here. They're not invited. I don't know how they got in here. We know they were supposed to be here. But other than that, I think not surprised by Kenny Omega being there, but what a commodity. What a huge win for All Elite Wrestling to have Kenny Omega, a member of their roster. Couldn't do better. To have Cody and the Bucks, to have the Lucha Bros, to have Kenny Omega, to have Chris Jericho. Like, this roster is filling out immensely. And then seeing like Nyla Rose and Sonny Kiss, and this idea that it felt like there was an inclusion that felt right, and it felt relevant, and it felt 2019, and it felt like it echoed the sentiment of what people want. And it's not this parade of, look, we have people of all different types. It's just these wrestlers are here because they're great. And they come in all different shapes and sizes and ethnicities and preferences and whatever it is. Every worldview is featured here, but it doesn't feel like they're featuring it because we want different worldviews. It feels like they're just featuring the best unsigned pro wrestlers. And when you do that honestly, it happens to look like a lot of different worldviews. And I think that was, they did that tremendously. And if that, to me, that's what I'm talking about. That feels different and youthful and interesting and cool. More of that, less of the carny stuff for me. And I love that Aja Kong is going to be in the organization. I love that Aja Kong is there. Just they're doing a nice job of balancing youth with experience, of balancing homegrown talent with name value, of all that stuff. So I think overall, another huge plus. I thought the production value was even better this time than it was last time. And it looks really good. And I'm anxious to see how it turns out. I just hope that they dial back on the little instances of pro wrestling and dial up the stuff that feels real and feels relevant and natural in 2019. That's the stuff that's going to grab people's attention. Speaking of AEW, that leads me to story number 3, which we go over to Japan for. Jay White, Switchblade, won the IWGP Championship this week, and it shocked a lot of people. Of course, Kenny Omega lost it to Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom in January, and people kind of, I think, generally thought that this means that Tanahashi is on his way back up, maybe on his way back up, finding glory that had escaped through his fingers over the course of the last year or two. But Tanahashi lost it to Jay White really quickly. You know, it's only February, and Jay White is the IWGP champion. People are critical of Jay White. I really, I've been impressed with Jay White every time I see him wrestle. You know, if I'm being honest, I'm not invested in the New Japan product the way some people are. You know, I'm invested in. I spend a lot of time watching WWE. To me, that's still my home base of being a wrestling fan. But, I keep up with New Japan and I watch when I watch. I'm not shocked at the Jay White thing. I guess I'm surprised, but not shocked. Not like, whoa, why on earth would you? Well, we know why. And people talk about AEW and the way it's going to affect WWE a lot. But what really needs to be talked about is the fact that New Japan is completely changing their business because of AEW. New Japan's face is looking completely different because of this organization. You know, you look at, somebody posted, it might have been Dave Meltzer, posted what the secondary tickets look like for NXT TakeOver New York, WrestleMania weekend on the Friday, and the Ring of Honor New Japan Super Show at the Madison Square Gardens at Madison Square Garden on the Saturday. And the fact is that even though the Garden Show sold out lightning fast, on the secondary market, NXT tickets are way more expensive than Ring of Honor New Japan tickets. And I think that part of that is because when Ring of Honor sold out and New Japan sold out Madison Square Garden as quick as they did, all those names that I just mentioned, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Adam Page, everybody, they were all expected to be there. And now they're not. Now they're not going to be there. And I think it's thrown a lot of people for a loop. You know, New Japan has lost a ton of its biggest stars. And I think the decision to put the title on Jay White has everything to do with, okay, we want somebody that's young. We want somebody with a little edge. We want to do something that's going to make people talk. But we also, quite frankly, want to put the title on somebody that we can count on for being there. And I'm sure that they have Jay White locked into a contract for, a good enough amount of time. But New Japan right now needs to make moves like this. A lot of their talent is leaving to go to this organization that doesn't even have a TV deal announced yet. It doesn't have a pay-per-view announced until May. And still, they have a lot more buzz right now than New Japan does. So I think New Japan is just going out of their way to make sure that they don't lose that buzz, to make sure that they maintain the idea that people are talking about them. It's important, And I think that that's what the Jay White title win is all about. Keeping people on their toes, showing people that New Japan is evolving into something that looks new, that they're not resting on their laurels, they're not relying on talent that's been there for any amount of time. They've taken a 26-year-old kid like Jay White, who people aren't 100% on, and saying, no, you might not be, but we are 100% on him. And we're putting the title on him. And I think that is the effect of what Cody and the Bucks are doing in AEW. And I think that New Japan is feeling it a lot more than WWE is. That's for sure. Let's move on to story number 2. And it's really just congratulations to the Revival. Finally, people have forgotten that the Revival had match of the year a couple years ago. In NXT, the Revival were the tag team of tag teams. It's really interesting what's happened to the NXT tag teams. You know, Jordan and Gable, tremendous NXT tag team. Quite honestly, the Ascension were a huge NXT tag team. The Revival, huge NXT tag team. It's really the tag teams that suffer when they go to the main roster, I think, even more than the single stars. But I think people are starting to figure out that the Revival is different and cool and deserve some time to be tag team champions of the world. I think that that there is this place. You know, when we're putting this emphasis on, the women's division, the men's division, the cruiserweights have this thing over here. Tag teams have kind of lost a lot of steam. We're giving the cruiserweights their own show. The women's division is becoming so big it's going to main event WrestleMania. And now you've got tag teams, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll just we'll throw a couple people together here or there. Tag team specialists are a group of lost artists. You know, there is something cool about a team that works only as a unit, that you're not even thinking about having them break up or be single stars. You know, you're looking at the Hart Foundation and the Bushwhackers and the Rockers and the Demolition and the Legion of Doom and the Beverly Brothers and team after team after team that functions entirely as a unit. And when you watch them, you don't want to see one without the other one. The Nasty Boys. You know? A lot of tag teams eventually break up. A lot of the tag teams that I just mentioned broke up. I understand, you know? But at the time, the Rockers were the Rockers. You know, we weren't sitting there going like, when is Shawn going to be able to go do his own thing? And when is Marty going to be able to do this? Until the end of that run. But before that, it was the Rockers were the Rockers. You know, and I think that there needs to be, I would love there to be more of that. And as we're looking, I mean, honestly, I think they've done a really good job with the women's tag division that they're building. And we'll talk about that as we preview Elimination Chamber in a couple minutes. But I think that the Revival are doing a lot to bring back tag team wrestling. That Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson are not sitting there teaming right now so that one day one or the other can be a solo star. They are teaming together so that they can be the best tag team in the world. There's no tomorrow. If one goes down with an injury, the team is down. You know? And I think that there should be more of that. That's what I want to see in the tag division. Tag team acts. Superstars that are designed to tag. You know? That the name of the tag team is bigger than the name of any one superstar that's on that team. That's what I love about the Revival. And they function together as a unit, you know. And it's not Dawson and Wilder or whatever. It's the Revival. They have a name, and they use it. And that name is more famous. There are people who don't know what their names are, but they know the name The Revival. There were people who didn't know Luke or Butch. They just know the Bushwhackers. The Revival are bringing us back to that time, and I think that's what they're reviving. And I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome, and I think that they absolutely deserve to be Raw Tag Team Champions, and I think they should just keep those titles on them forever and a day. I think they should. The Revival should go on a win streak, the likes of which the tag team division has not seen in a very long time. I think they should put those Raw Tag Team titles on a pedestal, and they should remind everybody how important tag team wrestling is. Their standard of wrestling should be so high that people are looking at them going, there's no competition for them anymore. There's no competition. And real tag teams. We're talking about the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are a group. They're a unit. And the Revival is a unit, and they're great, and I'm happy for them. All right, let's get into the number one story of the week. Elimination Chamber is this Sunday. So I figured that we would break down the matches. Here's what we've got. Story number one. Here's what we've got for Elimination Chamber this Sunday on the WWE Network. Of course, you've got the Cruiserweight Championship is on the line. Champion Buddy Murphy defends against Tozawa. Always like to see Tozawa doing better and better, but I do believe that Buddy Murphy will hold on to that Cruiserweight Championship. Buddy Murphy is just amazing. Buddy Murphy is a guy that I think people would have written off not too long ago as like, okay, well, he had his run, he had his try, and it didn't work out. You talk about a team, Blake and Murphy in NXT. Once that team broke up, I don't think anybody had any faith in the solo members. And it was up to Buddy Murphy to reinvent himself, and boy, did he. And, he's been impressive nonstop. So I think it's going to be a great match. The Cruiserweights always show up at pay-per-views, but I do think Buddy Murphy maintains his championship. You got McMiz versus the Usos. Look, Shane McMahon and the Miz are entertaining together. I thought that the McMiz Usos segment on SmackDown was fabulous. But let's be honest. What is the Miz and Shane McMahon? They have great chemistry together. They're fun to watch. But in reality, it's a team built upon the fact that one guy is sucking up to his boss and one boss likes to be sucked up to. They are friends because the Miz is kissing Shane McMahon's ass, and Shane McMahon is like, yeah, it feels pretty good on my ego, and that's what their relationship is. Meanwhile, the Usos may be the best tag team of the last decade. You talk about tag teams that are a unit, you talk about tag team specialists, the Usos have defined that, in my opinion, more than maybe just about any other tag team. The Usos are probably my pick for tag team of the decade. And I think that it should be the Usos that walk out of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view with the SmackDown tag team titles, defeating McMiz. Great moment seeing him win the tag titles at the Royal Rumble, but enough is enough. Let's give the Usos their due. The best tag team on SmackDown right now is the Usos. The best tag team on Raw right now is the Revival. Let's make sure the titles are on the people who should be called champions. And that's what I'm looking for with the Usos McMiz match on Sunday. Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman just added to the pay-per-view. I think this is all Braun. I think this match is designed to welcome Braun back to the fold. Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush versus Finn Balor. Intercontinental title on the line, handicap match. Finn Balor has got to be about an idiot for accepting a handicap match. Lio Rush is not a manager. He's a wrestler. I don't know why Finn Balor would accept this match as a handicap match. On commentary this week on Raw, they were debating, is this could be a detraction, could be a benefit. No, it's all benefit. Lio Rush is not going to get in the way. And even if he does, they go, well, Finn Balor could beat Lio Rush. Yeah, but there's a big monster named Bobby Lashley that's right there. If Finn Balor covers Lio Rush, you don't think Bobby Lashley will be around the corner ready to crush him? Finn Balor, I don't think, is going to win the Intercontinental title at this show. And hopefully, we will all realize that this man needs to put some paint on and come out as the demon. Because that'll be 2 pay-per-view title matches in a row that he comes out unsuccessful on. That was also added this week, by the way. I talked a little bit earlier about Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. I think Ronda walks out the women's champion. I don't think I'm making a bold prediction there. But I do think Charlotte's going to keep it interesting. And, if anybody can keep it competitive, it should be Ruby Riott. I don't think she has a chance at winning the women's championship this time. But I do think that Charlotte is going to make Ronda's night a little bit difficult. The match that I'm looking forward to the most is the Women's Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match. You've got the Iconics versus the Boss and Hug Connection versus Tamina and Nia Jax versus Carmella and Naomi versus Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Now, we know Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and the Boss and Hug Connection are going to be the 2 teams that start out in this match. The other 4 teams are going to be in the chamber. The reason why I'm looking forward to this match the most is because literally any of these 6 teams could win. And you're sitting there, I mean, let's go down the list. The Iconics. The Iconics eat, sleep, and breathe together. We've seen the photos of the way Peyton Royce looks at those tag team championships. Okay? They act as a unit, and they do that in real life. I've interviewed these two. You can go back on the podcast and find the episode. They're finishing each other's sentences when they're just doing interviews. And I don't mean promos. I mean interviews with like me. They are the real deal. And they act as one, which is, the most you can hope for in a tag team. Boston Hug Connection, one of the favorites going in. Sasha Banks and Bayley, the run that Sasha put Ronda Rousey through at the pay-per-view. This is a new, much more aggressive, much more ready to win Sasha Banks. And let's be honest, just as a point of pride, Bayley and Sasha Banks are the ones that wanted this title to exist. Bayley and Sasha Banks have been wanting a women's tag team championship since they got here, like forever. They've envisioned themselves as this champion that didn't exist. So the fact that they've got that much built up, I would say that they have a shot at winning. You got Tamina and Nia Jax, who's going to beat them? They could easily just go around crushing everybody's faces, just caving skulls in nonstop until they walk out with the titles. Even Carmella and Naomi. I would say they're the underdogs because they've never really teamed together before, but still, this is the moment for them to shine, and Naomi is one of the best women on the roster. So if any time is a moment for her to shine, it would be now. The Riot Squad, I don't think that there's any team that works better together than the Riot Squad, Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. And of course, you got Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville that have been nothing but dominant since coming over to SmackDown. So any of those teams could win, and I don't even know how to call it. If I had to call it, I'd probably say, I might go Riot Squad. I might go Riot Squad on this match. It could get very, very interesting. And then, of course, the WWE Championship is on the line in the Elimination Chamber. Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe versus Kofi Kingston. Mustafa Ali taken out of the match due to injury. And Kofi Kingston, man, I wasn't sure about this choice when they announced it, but watching him in that gauntlet match for an hour on SmackDown, my God, you forget how great Kofi Kingston is. I was on the Kofi Kingston bandwagon big years ago when he had a rivalry with Randy Orton that was leading to a title match. I was at the Madison Square Garden Raw where Kofi did the boom drop through the table. Amazing moment for Kofi Kingston. Amazing moment to see live. I think that Kofi Kingston is going to be a sleeper in this match, but I absolutely think at the end of the day, Daniel Bryan walks out still champion. I think Kofi Kingston is going to give us a lot of moments to talk about and will probably let people know it's time to consider him a serious contender for the WWE Championship. Samoa Joe is too aggressive for his own good. He ends up getting himself disqualified. He ends up, making a mistake, getting rolled up, whatever it is. He just comes in like a freight train, and sometimes you got to be a little bit more delicate than that. Jeff Hardy, I think we're going to get what we want out of Jeff Hardy, which is a swanton bomb off one of the chambers. Looking forward to that. Randy Orton. Randy's Randy. Randy's a legend. I don't think he's going to win the WWE Championship, but I think he's going to do some damage. I hate to say it, but AJ Styles is not exactly the AJ Styles that he has been. I think AJ Styles needs to reassess where he's at right now before we consider him potential for the WWE Championship. He's kind of going in there and, just going through the moves that we all know and everything, but he's not really capturing the emotion. He's not really... I don't know how many people actually think he's going to win this championship. I don't. I know that the champion has to be prepared for whatever. Has to be prepared for anything. Has to be prepared for the fact that Eric Rowan might interfere in a match. And when you've got a guy like AJ Styles, who's got the experience that AJ Styles does, who isn't expecting an RKO to come out of nowhere. For God's sake, it's on a t-shirt. AJ. It says RKO out of nowhere on a t-shirt. If Randy Orton is not immediately coming down the aisle, you turn your head around and you watch your back. And if you're not doing that, maybe you deserve to get RKO'd. So I think Daniel Bryan walks out of Elimination Chamber still your sustainable materials WWE champion. I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. I think it's going to be really, really good stuff. Good stuff. And what a WrestleMania season it is. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, folks. It's exciting, exciting, exciting. This has been it. This has been exciting. Don't forget, February 27th, Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m., Caroline's on Broadway. The show that I will give to you alongside the Major Brothers is one you won't soon forget. There are already surprises. As I told you earlier, the Major Brothers are getting friends involved. People are being flown in. Like the amount of lunacy that's going to be happening at this live show at Caroline's on Broadway, it's going to be jaw-dropping, to say the least. Carolines.com for tickets. Be there or be square. I can't wait to see you there. And I can't wait to see you here. Don't forget to Patreon, patreon.com/NotSamWrestling. Get involved with all this stuff. And we will see you next week right here on, you guessed it, Not Sam Wrestling.
Thanks for listening. Follow at Not Sam on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Rate, review, and subscribe. This has been Not Sam Wrestling. Not Sam Wrestling.